Right, guys. This is where the first, the only fault happens actually, because it was a very, very good drive. So we're coming up to the end of this road, and it's a T junction, and you can, well, the student can see both sides when they get to the end of the junction. And what will happen is, if you look at the top of the screen, a van, sort of pickup type van, will come and go on the left hand side of the student. Now that will kind of block the student's view. So from now, the student's approaching, comes up to the end, has a look both sides, and you can see the van just comes up on the left now. Students kind of waiting for another vehicle to go. Now the van has gone just now, and now the student goes. So technically this examiner has failed the student because the van kind of blocked the view. Hey guys, all right, back at Borehamwood, and you've seen the sort of highlight clip at the beginning, and so yeah, this one was a tough one. Student drove so well, only 3 minors, and the route was an 8:20 early in the morning one towards Shenley, a couple of the side roads and everything, but they dealt with everything perfectly, literally. So the fault that came about was it's hard to say disputable, because examiner had their view, I would say a little bit restricted, but at the same time the student had said to me that they could see clearly, but yeah, you'll see that later on when I kind of go through the clip again. I think it's about 7.5 minutes or something like that into the video, but yeah, it was a real shame. Students said that they could see past the van that would technically blocking the examiner's view. So it's a difficult one. When I can't see on a mock test, I generally would tell the students to be a bit more cautious, but yeah, end of the day, if the driver can see, then the driver can see, right? So maybe a discussion should have been had there at that moment. Maybe they could have spoken about it and decided that if the student could see and they realized that the van was a potential hazard, that at least they could see, and they made a informed decision and then went. So to me, that would have been more of a sensible approach to it. But is what it is. Unfortunately, the student didn't make it because of that one fault. Can't knock the examiner at all. They were very, very good on the test. Overall, conducted everything as they should, so can't really knock them at all for that. But yeah, it's just a shame. Really upset for the student, because such a lovely person, and worked really hard to get technically to get the license, and it's a shame that it was a situation like this, which there was a bit of a dispute between the two. No arguments or anything, but just opinion wise. So yeah, I hope you guys can learn from it, and sometimes a little bit of commentary driving does go a long way. Then the examiners can kind of understand certain things that you're doing at tricky junctions, but that's in hindsight now. Student did say they did a bit of commentary driving at certain places, but at this moment I think the van just caught them off guard. It was just out of the blue, the van came, and then they saw it was clear, and then they went. So fair play. So yeah, have a look, see what you guys think. As all the other YouTubers say, comment in the comment section below. but yeah, hope the video helps. Right, guys. This is where the first, well, the only fault happens actually, because it was a very, very good drive. So we're coming up to the end of this road, and it's a T junction, and you can, well, the student can see both sides when they get to the end of the junction. And what will happen is, if you look at the top of the screen, a van, sort of a pickup type van, will come and go on the left hand side of the student. Now that will kind of block the student's view. So from now, the student's approaching, comes up to the end, has a look both sides, and you see the van just comes up on the left now. Students kind of waiting for another vehicle to go. Now the van has gone just now, and now the student goes. So technically this examiner has failed the student because the van kind of blocked the view. And so, you know, in that sort of moment, you have to kind of wait a little bit longer, let the van get further away, and then, you know, just reassess the situation. However, when when me and the student were discussing it, what happens is, student has now come up to this junction, as you can just replaying it again, come up to this junction. They're having a look both sides. You can see really far on the right hand side. You can't see this on the video, but you can't see that far on the left hand side. So if you look in the top of the video now, it's like a bit of a bend, and it dips down. So fair enough, what the examiner's pointing out, that, you know, you never know that another vehicle could come by the time the van goes. But now the student has said what's happened is, when the truck went left, that truck stayed very sharp to the left, actually really close to the curb, and that allowed the student to still see on the left hand side down the road, or up the road, you know, it depends on which way you're looking at it. So on the left hand side, and that's why the student continued to commit. Now the examiner should have possibly just discussed this with the student, etc., before making a decision, but you know, it's such a difficult one. If you're an examiner, or if this was a mock test or something, I was telling the student I would have failed them as well for the observation fault, because, you know, the moment that truck blocks your view, you need to kind of stop again, just and kind of reassess it. However, from what I, you know, after discussing with the student, probably the best course of action was, you know, if you could actually see, because the examiner is sitting on the left hand side and they have a slightly different view, very slightly, but then the student might have to sort of say, you know what, I can see it's clear, I'm just going to go out, you know. But that's obviously now us looking back in hindsight and seeing what's happened, and I really felt for the student, because, to be honest, that was a tough one. Only a couple, I think 3 minor faults in the whole drive, and when you watch the rest of the video, absolutely spotless. I was actually struggling to find where the fault was, because they said it was like a lorry initially, but when I checked back at the video now and I saw this van, kind of pickup truck, I was going through the video back and forth trying to work out where the fault was, but that was it. So it was an observation fault, really tough. To be honest, now, you know, when the student has described that they could still see that the road was clear, I think the decision was a bit harsh. But you know, kind of understand what the examiner's decision was as well, and can't knock them for it. Student was also quite understanding of that fact, but it's a shame that maybe more of a discussion wasn't, or didn't happen, with the examiner and the student before making a final decision to fail them. So yeah, have a look at it again if you guys want, and yeah, a bit of a tough one. I felt really bad for the student. Lovely person, and drove so well. Just a bit of a shame, but wasn't meant to be, and hopefully next time we'll get it.